Welcome back to the Unanimous Decision Podcast. I am your host, D-Palm. Follow me on Twitter at DPalm66. Follow the show on Twitter at UDPod. Follow the entire MTR Network at the MTR Network. You found us, don't lose it. Subscribe in the iTunes Store. Subscribe on Stitcher. Subscribe on, I know we're on Google Play Store too. Everywhere you can find us, make sure you subscribe to the device of your choosing. That way, you don't miss any bit of all the goodness that is UDPod. Now, I got to let you guys know. A lot of you subscribe to the main MTR feed, and that's a great way to catch a lot of it. What we're doing now, particularly on Tuesday mornings, is our quick snaps rollout. That's our quick reviews of the week in the NFL. That's not going on the main feed. It's imperative you subscribe to UDPod feed to make sure you get all the goodness. We're going to have a lot of these micro shows happening. So if you're a Super Tuesday fan, you want to make sure you get all the upcoming mailbag episodes, make sure you subscribe to the Super Tuesday feed. Because it may hit main feed, but it may hit the main feed like 7 or 8 days later. We've got a lot of content coming this fall. We're really excited about it. But make sure you subscribe to your individual feeds to get all you can out of your subscriptions. Speaking of subscriptions, make sure you go premium, $8 a month. Hundreds more hours of podcasting greatness, including a recently posted Hell No Cupid. That's our dating and romance podcast. I finally recorded mine prior to the wedding. I told some stories. We had some laughs, gave some advice. It's interesting. It's weird to talk about and to verbalize this close to my own impending nuptials, but it was fun to do, and I hope you guys enjoy it when you listen to it. You can email us at udpodcast@gmail.com if you got anything you want to say, stories you want to suggest. Also, make sure you leave those 5-star reviews in the iTunes Store. You leave a 5-star review, it gets read on the air. No matter what it is, I've made fun of the Falcons, I've made fun of the Bulldogs. I've had to talk about myself in various unfun ways, but I do it because I love the podcast. 5-star reviews. I think that's about it for right now. We're going to get right into it. Oh, the Patreon page is up. Make sure you subscribe there. After you've gone premium, you can get the Patreon gifts. We're going to be bringing back live shows for our Patreons and tons of other tips and tricks and prizes and things of that nature. It helps us pay for things like San Diego Comic-Con. I know New York Comic-Con's coming up this week. And, we've got a lot of great content to come, and we're excited to have you guys be a part of it. Now, let's get to the business of the day. UDPod is back. We got a guest this week. It's my homie, Chad Floyd of... like damn near everywhere. Like you still run Dude You Crazy. I know that the new podcast is about to roll out. You're writing for SB Nation. What's up, man?
Man, not a whole lot. I'm honestly intrigued. I need to go back and listen to that Hell No Cupid with you on it and see if your fiance is cool with that.
See, it's wild because like I was talking about this because I did that last week and I was like, wow, Chad's gonna be on this week. Chad was like, you were my roommate when I met Susan.
Yeah, big times. I remember the story. Won't get into it on the air, but
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Something's got to stay behind the paywall. Y'all can hear the story, but you got to pay for it.
Wait, is that actually behind the paywall?
Oh yeah.
All
right.
right.
Behind the paywall. I'll see what I can do to get you hooked up. But yeah, definitely.
Hey, you've got my $8, man. You've got my $8.
That's what we call salesmanship. Man, what's been going on with you, man? I know you're back in North Carolina. Your Tar Heels not doing so hot this football season, huh?
So we discussed this in our pre-show, but it was a struggle to see us score 7 points against Georgia Tech, whose defense has generally not been too good in recent years. But oh boy, Palmer, I'm at a loss for words. Like, it's bad, man. It's bad.
Well, fortunately, you're one of those rare dual fans. We'll have some good things to talk about later on when we do our roundup of college football.
Whatever do you mean?
There's a segment that Bomani Jones has been doing on his radio show, like, when did football quit you? And people have been calling in and telling the story of when they decided, they're like, oh no, that's a wrap. Like, kids are getting hit. Like, it's one of those things where you listen to it and you're like, if you take the word football out of this is all child abuse. Every story. It's like, and then my face mask came off and I broke 3 teeth. You're like, no, that's not an okay thing that happened to a child. Like, this is ridiculous. And then I joined the band because every time you quit football in these stories, they always find something else to do so they can't go back to football. I know you played in high school. I played in college. So what I've been doing for people like us who kind of, I mean, you could have played some college ball somewhere, but you chose not to.
Yeah.
You chose to go somewhere else. We're telling the story of moments in our experience where it was very apparent that, oh no, maybe this whole football thing it doesn't end in a gold jacket and a speech. So can you give us a story that maybe happened to you on the gridiron that was a moment where you're like, those football dreams that end on Sundays, they need to stop maybe a little bit short of that, maybe Friday nights?
So I played through my senior year, but immediately when you hit me with that question pre-pod, I know the exact moment. There was a Thursday practice before our last game my sophomore year of high school. At the time, I was pulling double duty. I was playing JV and varsity very illegally. So I played 22 games that year. The day of a game, we decided we were going to have a full contact practice prior to the JV game. And I went over the middle on a route, went up for a ball, and our free safety, who ended up playing at Carolina A&T, just absolutely laid me out. I broke my thumb, and I said, you know what? I don't really like this anymore.
But that was the moment where you're like, okay, there's definitely an end date for my football career.
Yeah. Our trainer basically told me to rub some dirt on it and gave me an ace bandage to wrap around a broken thumb. And I went out there and tried to catch passes in the last game of the season with a broken thumb.
I've broken fingers and had to play, but I also played line. I think they just said receiver, good luck, buddy.
Pretty much. I know I can account for one drop pass that night, and I basically told them on Friday, listen, I cannot play in the varsity game. But no, that was not fun. And then going to basketball tryouts with a broken shooting thumb is also not fun.
Oh,
so that also ended my basketball career.
Gee, football has sprung out and claimed 2 careers. My goodness. See, for me, I always had these little moments in my career where my career, that's a laughable phrase, when I played football, where it was very apparent to me okay, this isn't for me. Now, maybe it's for me, but there's definitely not, it does not end on Sundays. And we're playing, I got 2 stories today because I guess my junior year in high school, we had a great defense. We had an all-world beater defense. We set records deep in the playoffs, and I was the only junior on it. It was a senior-led defense. I think we had a sophomore playing free safety, but we were the only 2 underclassmen on that defense. And my first start, we're playing at a away game in one of the few turf stadiums in Metro Atlanta, and so it's a Saturday day game, and we're playing. I'm wearing tennis shoes. It's crazy. It's my first start, and I'm hyped. I'm ready. And all week I've been watching this guard on film, and I'm playing the 3 technique, and I'm like, I know this guy. I'm going to own this guy. I can control and run this guy. Second play of the game. First play of the game was outside run. Nothing for me to do. I don't feel whatever. Second play of the game, I'm like, I'm reading his stance. I'm like, this guy he's going to pass that on me. I'm ready. I'm going to the edge here. I'm going to find his edge. I'm going to get to that quarterback. So the ball snapped, and I go to try to cross his face. I want to work a rip move to get inside pressure to help out my outside edge rushers. So he comes. So from the 3, I step across his face. He goes past me, and I'm like, "Oh God, he missed!" And so I take my next step and plant to go upfield to run to the quarterback, but the quarterback's not looking at me. He's handing the ball off. And I don't know, so you never play D-line. So when you get trapped, it's the worst feeling in the world.
And this is the first play?
This is the second play.
Oh, good.
It's the second play of my first start. And I'm thinking, hair on fire, I'm going to kill this quarterback. And I never saw him.
You had hair? Sorry.
The other guard came and absolutely cleaned me out. Creases for an 80-yard touchdown. It's my second play on varsity starting.
So did defensive football quit you at that point, or
No.
was that it?
I got recruited to play defense. I played defense in college until I got moved over because we didn't have any depth. That was the first and loudest tongue lashing I'd gotten at that point. But it toughened me up and got me ready for more and more yelling at. So my freshman year at Columbia, I'm playing defense, and we're on the JV squad or whatever. I think I played 3 snaps of varsity that year, and we're scout team defense, and we're supposed to be running a sting blitz where I binge off into a gap, and our safety comes down and takes the space that I vacated. Ethan Waters, who I love, is a good friend of mine. He blitzes with his eyes closed, and I binged off into the gap, and his helmet, it hit my hand on between, I was on the chest of the lineman, and I felt my finger snap in half when his face mask ran into my hand. And we're playing the game, and I'm like, and the series is over, and I come out and I say, hey, I think I broke my finger. can you guys tape it to my pinky so I can keep playing? They're like, take your glove off. It looks fine. It looks fine. I take my glove off, and my ring finger on my left hand just goes straight, direct to 90-degree angle to the left. I'm like, I'm pretty sure it's broken. Can you please tape it to my other finger? Tape it together, play the game. And because I'm an idiot, the next day we're doing scout team walkthrough for the varsity for their game on Saturday. And so we all hate these people, the scout team All-Americans.
Oh, yeah.
And I
try
wasn't
hards.
one of those. I really wasn't, but I did want to prove that my hand wasn't too banged up, that if they needed me, I could play. So they're doing 3-step stuff, and the ball is released low. And I see the ball go right towards my head. I'm like, you know what? It shouldn't be that low. I need to just put your hands up. That's what we're told to do, is put your hands up on 3-step. My hand goes up, and the ball hits me right in the finger.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's a heat-seeking missile once you have a broken finger or
I honestly,
jammed finger or anything.
I could not believe it. I fell to the ground. Like, it was bad. And that was the moment I was like, you know what? You see these guys, these old NFL film tapes. I cut my hand off and kept playing. Like, that's not me. I don't have it in. I'm sorry. Like, I was so, like, my finger, there are parts of my finger that are still numb today. And that was legitimately, oh, God, 15 years ago.
If you can call Columbia's archives and get film of that where Daniel Palmer gets hit in the hand by a football and falls to the ground.
Like weeping.
I mean,
Chad. Like, it was so much pain.
Dude, that's premium content right there. I so badly want to see this. I want to see you get hit in the hand by a football and fall to the ground like you got hit by a grenade.
Princeton Week 2003 stat. All right, man, so let's get to it. We can't talk about sports this week without talking about, I guess, the conversation that's been presented around sports and for people who like politics out of their sports. Sorry, guys, politics invaded yet again. And for the record, that's a fallacy that has always existed. Saying I don't want politics in my ex is saying that I used to be able to ignore it. Sandy Koufax got death threats for not playing on Jewish holidays. Jackie Robinson had a padded hat his first season because people were throwing things at his head. Politics have all existed in sports. Stop with the lying. But now, Chad, they've not just come to sports. They've knocked on our front door and given us the middle finger because after the leader of the free world calls a workforce SOBs, the NFL, en masse, largely, and I don't want to diminish what happened because it was something. Because the NFL, and I've thought a lot about this over the week, the NFL was attacked. And there's one thing that the Shield always has done, and you and I joke about, is they will always protect themselves. They will, paradoxically, shield the shield at all costs. And that's what the linking arms became. That's what the unity stuff became. And that's fine. And that's good. And I'm glad to see that something happened. Like, yeah, Jerry Jones gave that empty-ass speech and gave an empty-ass gesture. But at the same time, Jerry Jones was on his knees. Like, I watched Jerry Jones take a knee. And yeah, he stared right in the camera because he's fucking Jerry Jones. But
I mean, right off the bat, Jerry Jones won that week in football, did he not?
He won it
with an empty gesture, like you said. But
he won it in a way that makes you feel not great about it.
That's fair.
Like you feel icky, but you're like, I mean, given I guess if in this case if he had to get a win, fine. But you're right. Like Jerry Jones found a way to make all of this defanged, and that's the crazy thing. Like, you look at the SI cover where there's no Kaepernick. You're like, wait a second, how the fuck did we get here? And why is Roger Goodell poorly photoshopped holding Steph Curry's arm? Like, it's just the laziest Photoshop ever. Honest to God, the fiance spends better time and better Photoshop putting hats on the dog than what I saw there. It was just kind of ridiculous. But it seems like, the protest from what it was, and we will talk about what it was. It feels like the NFL has kind of corporatized it to the point where they use the same unity message in a commercial that ran in primetime last Sunday. What do you think is what? So you and I haven't actually talked about this.
No.
You and I both are very aware of where the protest started. What did you feel watching kind of the NFL turn this into the Ice Bucket Challenge?
My biggest issue with this, I mean, since Jump Street, is basically the way the NFL is corporately tied with the armed forces, and essentially you have your jean shorts NFL fans saying you're not supporting the troops, you're you don't have to support America, but you have to support the troops. And no, I mean, fuck that. It's all just hypocrisy on hypocrisy on hypocrisy. You have Villanueva with the Steelers making a stink and Mike Tomlin making a bigger stink about that. I mean, it's the whole thing is just completely gross. I'm just glad that NFL players are showing agency to an extent.
And I think that's kind of where I am too, where you're like, I think we're off from where we started, but I'm glad you guys are using voices like Aaron Rodgers, who in other interviews has said the words racial inequality and police brutality, and he's verbalized it very openly in the past. He left a bit of a weaker statement this week saying these are hard conversations, but I think that's almost like him saying, like, if I've got to like walk people down here, I'll walk them, but y'all know I know where you need to get. And so
But you've got to tiptoe down that line, unfortunately.
And that's the crazy part, because it's so wild, because like the backlash to this, like you said, the people who were so entrenched and so loud have forced the rest of us to try to tiptoe down this line. But my question becomes, hey man, why the fuck are we tiptoeing for the crazies? Why is DirecTV saying if you want to cancel your DirecTV Sunday ticket and you say it's because of the protests, we'll refund you? Hey man, what if I wanted to cancel because they wouldn't hire Colin? Why are we catering to the loudest and dumbest of us?
Well, the loudest and dumbest of us got 45 elected, but
I knew that was coming. And by the way, I want to appreciate you coming on here and being an avatar for white people. I meant to say it earlier, but like I really do appreciate you. And even though like, and I know where you stand on all this stuff, but it's wild because I know you've been put in situations in your life where people assume you stand one way and you have to like correct them.
I mean, you and I have, we probably have the same opinion, but we have not seen eye to eye on the way that this whole damn thing works. And it's just so freaking frustrating to see. Like I said, I mean, just gross layered on top of gross, and we lost the message basically. I mean, now it's the NFL versus the troops basically, and
that's
like, what
crazy
the fuck,
to me,
man?
because like you've got the guy in the White House saying that he wants to start a culture war. Chad, if you had told me that when the culture war starts, the left get football. Like, what? Wait a second. Like, if we're drawing lines, like, I'll take football. I'm just curious how we got it.
Yeah, that was, I mean.
Like basketball, duh, we got that shit. Like, when football was always the one I was like, if I have to part with it, I'll part. But, like, of course, the right's got baseball. Like, you've got guys in baseball who say, I want to kneel, but I'm scared of what my teammates will do.
Yeah. And
that's fucking horrifying.
And what's funny to me is you have the drooling masses that put him in office they'll give up football for 45, and that's something.
They say they will. Ratings were up last weekend. This whole double secret we're not watching shit. It helped that the games were really good last weekend, but like, it's numbers were way up. Like, not up, but like.
Man, I watched more NFL last weekend than I have in ages.
I was drunk on NFL last week, and there were so many good close finish. Like, I don't know, man. And we've seen enough evidence that close does not necessarily mean good. But I think that it's interesting that both these like protests on protests and protests on protests have resulted in a win for the NFL, which is really, let's be real about this, what the owners in the league care about more than anything else. Yeah,
I was going to say the owners definitely kind of took a big W, which is amazing. I mean, you have Shad Khan linking arms with the Jaguars in London starting off the week, and that just kind of set a tone to where, okay, this is going to be watchable. This is going to be interesting, if nothing else, and I'm going to tune in to see what people do before kickoff. I've never been at a point in my life where that's been the case, but here we are. 2017, man.
And the Jaguars went out and released another statement this weekend. I'm not going to read it because it's one of the most weak sauce cowardly things I've ever heard of. And if you're going to say, we're going to kneel before the anthem and then stand for it, that's your choice as an organization. Do what you feel, I suppose. But you've also, like Chad said earlier, you've missed the point. The point's to make you look. And the fact that people were booing you kneeling before the anthem, as we saw on Monday night with the Cowboys, that should tell you it's never, ever, ever been about the flag. It's never, ever been about patriotism. It's about people who don't have voices trying to use voices that people who don't think they deserve them. This is the one that I liked. The release that I've loved the most and the reaction of the most has come, not coincidentally, out of the Seattle Seahawks. The Seattle Seahawks people keep saying, "Oh, they're being loud. What are they doing?" This is a statement released yesterday. In an effort to create lasting change and build a more compassionate, inclusive society, we are launching the Seahawks Player Equality and Justice for All Action Fund to support education and leadership programs addressing equality and justice. We invite you to join us in donating and taking action. The players of the Seattle Seahawks.
Dude, that was written by Russell Wilson's PR guy, wasn't it?
Whatever, dude. Like but the thing is, it's actionable. It defangs the "you're being loud, what are you doing" part resistance, and the fact that you have to defang resistance to like treat us like humans is horseshit. I agree, but like it's the world we live in, and I for all the corporatized speech that I've gotten out of the NFL, that was the one I was like, holy shit, they're actually doing something. People say, "Oh, Colin Kaepernick was loud." He gave $1 million of his own money when he has no income over the last 12 months. These people are putting their money where their mouth is, and this like cloaked in the flag denial of their humanity. It's gonna run into a level of hypocrisy that they can't really deny, and it's crazy because this culture war that 45 wants to start, he's banking on you hate the players more than you love the game.
Yep.
That's what he's saying. It's what he's telling you. He's like, I'm daring you to love this game more than you hate the players, and it's gonna be interesting to see where it breaks because I think the left won football. Another piece of evidence that the left may have won football is that I make it something I wanted, but not for the right reasons. For those of you who don't know, Ray Lewis has been very adamant anti-Kaepernick and said that he shouldn't be taking a knee and he would never take a knee. Of course, in London last week, you saw Ray take 2 knees, which I thought they may have canceled out knees, so now he's effectively standing on 2 knees.
I'm surprised he has knees, but continue.
He then went on a podcast, I think, Inside the NFL, and said some ridiculous things about how he was. And I'm not going to do a Ray Lewis voice because I really do want to.
Please do Ray Lewis voice.
No, I'm good. It's premium content.
We need to get this thing behind a paywall, man.
Look, he said that he was kneeling for Jesus. He said that he was praying for whatever. And look, now people are mad because Ray Lewis took any knees, and a certain segment of Baltimore Ravens fans, some would say
all Baltimore Ravens fans,
melanin deprived, not all of them because they're not. And that's the other thing we'll talk about in a second. They say they want to take Ray Lewis' statue down. I've been pro taking Ray Lewis' statue down because he's an asshole. Chad, you're a Ravens fan. Where do you fall on Ray Ray's statue?
So full disclosure, I'm kind of an NFL agnostic, and I'm trying to adopt the Panthers, and that's not going well at all.
Come home, Chad. You spent years here. We're good right
now. Ray Lewis takes. I love that man. He's the best damn linebacker you will ever see play football. He is also a fucking slobbermouth idiot. But, I mean, he suits the Baltimore Ravens fan base really well, and pretty much any decision they make. First of all, the statue should stay. Secondly, kneeling for Jesus is the most ridiculous rationalization I've ever heard. I don't know. Gene Schwartz could very easily get that statue taken down if Gene Schwartz, which I call the Ravens fan base, wants to. I really don't have any good opinions here that are suitable for audio content.
That's fair too. Because I feel the same way. I think I've reached the point with Ray. I'm like, you need to be quiet, Ray. Like, you are the best linebacker I've ever seen play football, and I would never say otherwise. However, if you reach the point where your opinion on things outside of the actions of a 4-3 linebacker are not important to me.
Yeah, I mean, if you map this on a Venn diagram, like, it all lands just in the middle, even with about 8 different things where you basically just say in the middle, this is stupid. This is stupid as shit. And, yeah, Ray Lewis has never been one that you want any opinions outside of how to be a 4-3 middle linebacker.
And you know what? And I'll give him some credit because he did adjust to 3-4 late in his career. So maybe 3-4 as well.
Fair. And, yeah, and those were some great teams on, like, Madden 11 that I played with. But that
shot.
Shot
across the bow.
Oh, well, I think there was a time or two where I might have shut you out on Madden 11 with the Ravens. But
Okay, let's just get forward before we go backwards, and I have to get upset on this here podcast. Moving forward for a second here, we all saw Greg Popovich this week. If you haven't seen it, the links are in the show notes. He went off. He's had enough. He's been talking out against Cheeto Hitler since the primaries last year, and he hasn't slowed down once. What's interesting is that he, Steve Kerr, Stan Van, what's my man, Dave Fizdale down in Memphis, the NBA coaches, kind of because of the sport that they occupy, have been louder and more outspoken against this administration. I've always said that if you're going to, like, you can live in the football space and still hold, like, there's enough of a team where you can definitely maintain and solidify your prejudices. You can't really be in basketball and, like, coach black people and, like, hate black people. It's I'm sure it's been done, but, man, there's so much time in such a small team that you can't help but expand your mind and learn from other people's experiences.
Yeah, that's been fascinating to me. Is, I mean, the core of a football team is normally going to be the quarterback. About 90% of the time, he's going to be white, and NFL coaches are doing a good job not taking a stance on that. And I'm sure I cut you off just short of where we were getting with that, but the NBA coaches have been absolutely phenomenal in this.
Yeah, they really have. But I wanted to just mention just really quickly, it's interesting to watch them be so outwardly spoken, and then to watch people like a Mike Tomlin walk that tightrope because of, like we said, like who the fan bases are and who the target audience is. And it's for me, it's wild because it felt like this was a layup win for the NBA. Like the NBA is going to handle this the best. And then you got Commissioner Dungy, Adam Silver out here saying that we expect all players to stand because when I believe it was Aru. Oh man, I forgot his name here.
They sent a memo on a Friday. They sent a memo to 30 teams.
But you can't do that because they instituted this rule where you had to stand years ago, and they've never really had to address it since. But now that they have, they're like, we stand by the rule. Like you can't, like even if you stand by the rule, this shouldn't be the way you do it. Like if you're good, it should be a press conference with leaders in the league, players, show coming out with the team, with the league in the united front. It can't be a dictatorial Friday night. Oh, by the way, y'all motherfuckers better be standing this weekend in these preseason games.
And here's the thing: you could easily assemble LeBron James and Steph Curry and
LeBron, Steph, and Chris Paul and Harden. They'll toe the line for the league as long as they have a voice rally around the table.
And they'll rally around the message and say, you know what, we need to be united. I mean, LeBron's already said that. He says, it's frustrating to see, the divisiveness in this country, but we need to unite as people. And that's been the NBA's message, and the NBA is winning in this space.
And they gave up the ground.
Yeah, it made absolutely no sense to me. And, I mean, back to our point, I mean, the NBA coaches are winning this, the NBA players are winning this. And then you have Adam Silver just dropping fucking Dilbert memos on a Friday afternoon.
Could have said, Adam, you could have said nothing. You could have said nothing, my dude.
There would have been no issue. I mean,
but this goes back to
there
Why
are 12
are we trying
people
to appease the craziest of us all? You had Dan Gilbert say after LeBron's statements that he got racist messages, and I swear to Christ he said this was taking it back because of a level of racism that he didn't know existed.
And he said it all in Comic Sans. Damn it.
Dog whistling.
You beat me to my joke.
I was like, did no one hand Dan Gilbert a mirror? Like, what? It's crazy.
But he made his billions in Ohio, and he doesn't know about racism?
Well, Ohio's the same place where they recently they're going to reintegrate a Civil War Confederate battle memorial when this part of the country was in no part of the Confederacy, because that's what this country really is sometimes. It's for me, it's wild, man. Like, I'm glad these coaches are talking, because you talk about like tenure, like Pop, like Kerr's got 2 rings now. You aren't really gonna come at them sideways. Stan Van, no sir, you're not moving him. He's one of those rare coach GMs. Fizdale, wow, and I'm like, you're in Memphis, like you need to. I'm glad you're being loud, and I'm glad you're bragging attention, but I need you to stay employed, David.
I honestly, like, if you name 30 teams in the NBA and we just went one off, the Grizzlies would be the one that I forgot about now that Zebo's gone. Zebo.
Now I'm sad. But I think it's going to be interesting to see how the season plays out. It's been noted that this Dawn Staley's team that won the national title last year has not been invited to the White House yet. I hope she's asking for an invite just so she can say no. And it'll be wild because odds-on favorite for the win the league this year. Spoilers if you don't want to know what happens in May, but people think the Warriors are going back. And I would love, or even if it's the Spurs, Pop or Kerr going to the White House, I need all cameras. All the cameras. And I need them mic'd up. That's what I need.
Well, too bad Steph ruined that. What I loved is
yeah, Steph. No, you forget. Steph was never invited in the first place. He was never invited in the first place.
No, yeah, it was not the Ginger Cheeto president. Dude. So here's my favorite thing about that fallout. You probably don't even know this was news because it's not news. So the Warriors, end up getting out of their invite or their obligation to go to the White House, I would call it. The same day, UNC issues a press release. We're not going to go to the White House because we can't make the scheduling work.
Oh no, yeah, UNC came out with that low sneak diss that day, and no one noticed.
Yeah, it was great. Like I just got texted about it. I was like, all right, and that's the end. I saw a great tweet about that, though. I think from Sherelle McMillan, who writes for Inside Carolina. He's on their basketball beat. He says, "Sorry, we can't make it to the White House. We've got 8 hours of film on UNC Pembroke that day."
You can't take a day off. Not in this kind of season. We'll get to some NCAA basketball talk in a minute because that's one of the reasons that it was just Providence had already invited you on before the story broke. Let's talk a little bit NBA here because I didn't get to talk to anyone about this. Dwayne Wade's a Cav.
I like it.
Yeah?
I don't think they're going to defend any better than they did last year. I think having Kyrie Irving's disinterestedness is maybe a plus, but yeah, Dwayne Wade's the Cav. If he's any more than an eighth man, then the Cavs aren't going to win anything, but Dwayne Wade's a Cav.
What's wild to me is that, if you look at Dwayne Wade as a Cav in a vacuum, yeah, it seems like a kind of ostentatious move where LeBron's getting his buddy paid and his buddy's chasing another ring.
Well, his buddy's getting paid the minimum instead of $17 million.
I was about to say, that's the thing, is when you look at it in combination with the other moves from last year or from the entire offseason, and you combine that and look at it comparatively to last year's roster, this is a deeper team. And say what you will about Derrick Rose and say what you will about Dwayne Wade, those are 18-point per game players last year, and they're all joining the Cavs for combined $4 million.
Jose Calderon.
If you look at the depth here, they're talking about playing K-Love at the 5.
Buddy, if they play K-Love at the 5, LeBron at the 4, and Jay Crowder at the 3, I'm in.
Let's run. Let's do this. The only question is because we now know that Isaiah Thomas will not be playing in this calendar year, and we don't know exactly when the return's going to be. My only question right now is who's running this thing. Of course, LeBron's going to be running point forward. We know that. But the backcourt's a question mark because, look, Derrick Rose is Derrick Rose, but them knees, I don't know how old Derrick Rose is. His knees are 75 apiece.
Oh, man. Those knees are not going to last as long as if I jumped off my balcony right now. Man, and I don't think we've discussed this either privately or publicly, but I think they can be better without Kyrie because, he generated no offense, man. And for him to publicly request a trade and them actually get value out of him, and we're talking about value. We're talking about the number 1 pick in next year's draft. Mm-hmm. We're talking about Isaiah Thomas if he comes back and they can gel him into that between January and February and make a stretch run. And Jay Crowder is one of my favorite players in the NBA, and he is a guy who can shut down Kevin Durant or at least neutralize Kevin Durant. And
shit.
He can at least play with Kevin Durant.
LeBron to do both ends of the floor.
Yeah, and I heard something about I forget the number, but they're plus minus in the finals. We knew it was ridiculous without LeBron on the floor, but if you have LeBron putting forth 10% less effort and you get those 10 minutes back.
Chasing Draymond is not the same as chasing Kevin Durant.
No. It's funny. The world's best weaponized offensive threat, who is 6'11", and you have to put LeBron James on him. It's interesting when you all of a sudden don't have to put LeBron James on him.
Things get real unbalanced real fast.
God, man.
Because even if you look at the plus-minus splits in the finals, when LeBron's on the floor and Durant's not, there weren't that many minutes, but it is lopsided, my friends.
Oh, Lord.
It's a thing, and I think that's kind of what they've built this new team around. And I do think LeBron's leaving at the end of the season, spoilers, but I think that they put together something that they can sustain with. Because even, let's say Isaiah Thomas never plays again, this trade's still a win for the Cavs, because that first overall pick, that's a superstar at the trade deadline.
Yeah, you build around that pick. We'll get into college basketball.
You can build around that pick, but you don't have to keep it. You can move that thing this year and make a run for this title if you know LeBron's last year.
Yeah, if there's like an Anthony Davis or Boogie Cousins or any other New Orleans Pelican on the market, take it.
The New Orleans Pelicans just drive by the corner every week and see who's on the corner this week. Huh? All right, we'll keep driving. We'll be back next week. We'll see. Melo has headed to OKC. He's going there with Paul George and the recently super paid Russell Westbrook. Let's talk first about Melo's fit down there. It looks like he's got rolled to the 4-2, right?
Dude, I love that he immediately came out and said, yeah, I'm willing to play the 4 here. Basically,
it's a slap in Phil Jackson's face.
Which the Knicks tried to do 7 years ago, and it was never going to happen. It's beautiful, and Phil Jackson just needs to just wheel himself away at this point. I'm kind of intrigued by this now. I was really happy to see Russell Westbrook re-up with OKC. I have no idea why. It just felt right.
It feels good.
It feels good to see a small market team actually, luck into a generational talent and actually hold on to him. I've never been a Melo fan. I think he's a ball stopper. If you get Olympic,
you and I have never agreed on Melo. Even when we're sitting on the couch watching basketball together, drinking beers, you and I will never agree on Melo.
No, but if you get Olympic Melo out of this,
that's what I'm saying.
If you get Olympic Melo
with other good players,
then okay. I mean, I could be in on this. Has he ever played with a good player before?
Yo, look at the
late
Iverson
career
years
Chauncey Billups
in Denver. The Iverson years in Denver, he supplanted himself well.
I mean, I'm just ready for Olympic Melo.
If
that happens,
if they let him play in the hoodie in the games.
I can't see why that would be an issue.
Bring Hoodie Melo to the NBA. The position starts today.
Adam Silver's going to make him put an American flag on the hood, but we'll get there when we get to it.
Compromise.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's also talk just really quickly. Like you mentioned, Russ got paid. He got the most money ever, I guess, for the contract right now, and he did it on Kevin Durant's birthday. Quick knee jerk. Was this petty or was this a coincidence?
It was coincidentally intentional.
Little plausible deniability?
I would say a little bit of plausible deniability. You get him into camp. Camp happens to be on the day of Kevin Durant's birth. That's unfortunate. But no. Given how Kevin Durant has gone from one of my favorite players in the league to one of my least favorite players in the league in the past year, I am just going to assume this was intentional.
It's because you're a hater.
Man, you got to hate on somebody. I'm the biggest LeBron fanboy on the planet. You got to hate on somebody.
You and I coined the phrase LeBronica.
Would we be friends if LeBronica did not exist? I don't know.
I only think so because of our mutual distaste for Kobe Bryant.
God bless you. God bless you, sir.
Well, let's talk about one of the lucky reasons I have you on. You're one of my friends who's heavy into college basketball. It helps that your team's really good year in, year out.
That's the only reason I'm into college basketball.
Well, UNC does the damn thing every year. Well, this week, the biggest sports story possibly in the history of the game broke when the feds came out with indictments and letters and documents and people's heads started rolling because it looks like Adidas and their brand management system have been using their camps to funnel money to players and bring them to schools illicitly. Now, let's get one thing out of the way. Chad, I'm going to speak for you here. Correct me if I'm wrong. Chad and I are firmly in the camp of pay the players.
Yes.
Pay the players. So when you tell us that the crime here is paying the players, we tell you to go to hell, ain't no crime. But when you tell me that there's been money laundering, that there have been phony purchase order sheets, that their books are being kept crookedly. That's why the feds are involved. And I am saying, okay, yeah. For those of you who don't know the story, I'm going to give you just the bare bones details here, and Chad can flesh them out because he knows more about this kind of stuff than I do. And maybe he can't. I don't know. It's a very good story.
I haven't read a single article on this. Everything I've got is from my Slack channel.
100%. Okay, so what happened was, it looks like, so there's when you've got people who are around famous and rich people, they like to provide services and goods. There's a guy in Atlanta who sells suits. His game is he hustles the suit. He gives you a free suit, custom-made suit, and then he wants you to come back and buy some more. You may remember this man from a story a couple years ago when Dominic Wilkins got into a fist fight with someone courtside at a Hawks game. This was this suit man. So, apparently the suit man got caught up.
That's a hell of a parallel.
I don't know how, I don't know why. The suit man got caught up. The suit man got caught up with the feds, some interstate wire or whatever. He says, what do you got for us? And the suit man says, I've got NCAA people. And that's where the rolling started. The indictments rolled down included, I think it was 4 assistant coaches, at least 1 executive at Adidas. Freddie, we'll talk about my favorite part of the story in a second. Chad, this is a situation where we all knew that this kind of shit was going on in college basketball. But until now, it's never been ever provable because the NCAA, as we've always noted, doesn't have subpoena power. They can say, oh, your assistant can't coach for 2 years because of a show cause. Yeah. Well, guess what? The coaches make $5 million a year. They're going to pay that guy's salary while he's not coaching and or get him a job in the NBA. Because that guy's not going to talk. He'll do his 2, and he'll come back. And no one thinks anything of it. That's how it's always worked. When the feds come knocking, it's not the NCAA. It's not you can't work for 2 years. It's jail time, son. What you got to give me? And that's when you see things like CWI and confidential source, because this suit man turned state's evidence. And the suit man brought in people who he said, and it's a twisted, tangled web, but basically the suit man facilitate introductions between players and Adidas executives who would then funnel these players to money management people who they said they could trust, but were actually preying on the students.
That would pretty much cover it. It's not going to be limited to Adidas.
Here. Yeah, and the subpoenas have also come down, and Nike offices have been raided. This is going to get bigger and worse before it gets better. Chad, is this the biggest college basketball story of our lifetime? Oh, excuse me, in 15 seconds or less.
Probably, but it will, and only because the feds got involved. If this was an NCAA issue, it would not be.
Right. It would have stopped with the assistants.
Yeah, and we still have my favorite part of this that I think you're teasing here.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
But I think it's crazy because is this the tipping point where people realize that maybe, just maybe, not paying a labor force directly correlates to the creation of a black market economy? People's pushback says, oh, you can't pay the players because the best teams, the best schools will pay the players more, and they'll get the best players and they'll win more. What the fuck do you think's happening now?
Yeah, I mean, basically they're saying, oh, you can't pay them $50,000 a year because they'll still take that cushy car dealership job and make another $50,000. Well, fuck yeah, they are. I mean,
but guess what? They have less incentive to take the next 50 once you've given them the 50 they've earned, or not 50, whatever the enumeration will become.
They've earned a lot more than that.
Exactly, but once you feel like you're being fairly compensated, you're less likely to engage in these black market dealings. Will they still occur? Yes, but they can't control the system the way they do now. People will say, oh, I can't believe this happened. Hey, Louisville wasn't on Adidas' payroll. They weren't getting these checks and gear from Adidas to put out mediocre basketball teams. There's an expected ROI when these schools are invested in by these shoe companies. And
Adidas got more into the college athletics market by paying a shitload more than Nike did. And that's why Adidas is on Louisville or is on in NC State, was on a UCLA for a while, was on Notre Dame. I mean, they paid way above market value, so yeah, they're going to need to get their return on that.
And I promise you, we're going to get to the funny part in a second, but Louisville's AD, was this Jurich? What's his name?
Jurich. Yeah.
Jurich. He's one of the people who lost his job this week. Or excuse me, effectively lost his job. There's a lot of things that happened. But what happened was, they said, allegedly, we need you to fire Petrino. He said, I won't do it, so they fired him. Why would he sin on this ground against Petrino or for Petrino?
But,
I don't think it was for Petrino.
Well,
you got to remember that
let's clarify one thing. It's Patino, not Petrino, and that can be confusing at Louisville.
I'm confusing my slime ball. What you got to remember is that Urich's daughter works for Adidas. she's making millions of dollars in salary off of the thing that he helped facilitate.
Yep.
He stood with Ricky Three Stacks because he had to, not because it was the right thing. Because he's trying to. Because if he does it, it looks like he's admitting guilt and implicating his own daughter. So don't make this out some noble play by the AD. He wanted to make sure he could save as much face as possible. Now let's get to the funny shit. Because honestly, in a vacuum, we would all say that clearly the players are the victims here. It's not to fall on one party. It's symptomatic of a larger disease that is college basketball and for a large part college football. This is the reason no players or no coaches, were answering their other phones this week. Week, nudge, nudge. If you own stock in burner phones, good week to have it because people are going to have to re-up this week. Everyone's talking to other reporters off the record. It's all been messy. It's all been ugly. And I honestly think that we would feel like this is a bigger tragedy if we all collectively didn't decide we hated one of the principal actors involved, and that being Rick Pitino.
Rick Pitino can fuck a waitress in an Italian restaurant on record.
Well,
and keep his job. He can hire hookers for 16-year-olds.
He was being extorted because of that waitress section. Like the reason
he can hire hookers for 16-year-olds and not get fired.
They were coming for his pockets.
Oh my God, Ricky Three Stacks, man.
15 seconds on why people hate Rick Pitino. Go, Chad.
Boy, I got to do this in 15 seconds. All right, Rick Pitino.
Well, Rick did.
Rick Pitino, a.k.a. Two Pump Chump, was extorted by a hooker, hired prostitutes for 16-year-olds, and also is the slimiest human being ever. What said that UNC used to be a classy place before somebody told him he sucked going into halftime last year. Rick Pitino, you still suck. Go Cards.
Chad, I gotta ask, aside from the personal turn that took at the end there, it's weird because I do think that as like a sporting public, we've decided that we just don't like Rick Pitino, but he's also like objectively one of the winningest coaches of all time. He's taken 2 teams to national titles, never been done before. Taken 3 teams to Final Fours. One of those was fucking Providence. Like, he went and had a decent. He won a division in the NBA with the Knicks. He destroyed the Celtics, which makes him a winner in my book.
Yeah.
Like, it's so weird because I heard a great analogy that he's the Alex Rodriguez of college basketball because no matter how great we can objectively state he is, he has no home. There's no one that will claim Rick Pitino, just like there's nowhere that will claim Alex Rodriguez.
Just go back to Providence, dog. Rhode Island still loves
Go back to Providence, retire. Okay, but there's another way out of this. What if Ricky Three Stacks goes full states and lays all the noise out? Like, he's been around for a while. He's seen enough. He knows where the bodies are buried. This could be the transformative force in college athletics who falls on his sword and says, you can't fire me, you can't take my money, but what you can do is fix what got me here and expose the corruption and hopefully make it a better place. But this isn't going to happen, is it, Chad?
Well, no, and that's because that sentence ends with, and pay me $21 million for my effort.
Yeah.
Pay him. Pay the man.
Did you earn it? I don't know. Let's have a conversation.
No, I would love to see them get to some kind of resolution of this, but you know it's never going to happen.
It's never going to happen.
My hope is that it rolls over into Nike, and then we can start to roll up Calipari, who we all know is filthy. And
you know you're also a Nike school, right?
Yeah, I know. I don't care. It's college basketball.
Oh, really? You've reached burn it all?
Dude, yeah. I mean, it's...
Oh, this is interesting.
No, I'm absolutely well beyond that point. I mean, the whole thing's just fucking gross. And you have a situation where LeBron James doesn't need to go to school for a year. Carmelo Anthony didn't need to go to school for a year. Just burn it all to the ground. Let them play in the D League. Let me drive up to Greensboro and see the next LeBron James.
There you have it, guys. That's a hot, strong take, and I don't think I was ready for it. I was ready for you to come here and defend UNC a little bit, but you know what? Applause to you.
Okay. Do you want me to defend UNC for a little bit?
Not really.
Okay, yeah. Well, we haven't gotten a top 20 recruit in like 7 years, so clearly we're the clean ones. Krzyzewski signing 3 top 10.
If clean money at this point, it's UNC basketball.
Yeah. Mike Krzyzewski's pulling in 3 top 10 guys a year. Clearly Carolina's just squeaky clean.
Look, everyone knew the Krzyzewski thing, right? Like, I think the fact that people are like, you don't think Coach K? I'm like, motherfucker, Corey McGetty's mom. I'm like, what? I'm like, nothing.
Yeah. Oh, William Avery was fucking the pregnant. What? No, I mean,
what?
come on.
What? It's crazy.
Wait, Chris Duhan's mom got a
The
job?
only person I can trust to deal with college basketball. The last thing I want to ask you about this is, because you and I are kind of deeper in the sports thing, we also have a very unique take on this. Do you think that the casuals that fund the NCAA via March Madness will be turned off from this if this scandal, if it doesn't become like, oh, this is the one big burst and we won't hear anything about it. If it becomes like an indictment a week, like, do you think that's going to exhaust the casual public to tune in for March Madness when we've got 12 teams that are eligible to play?
Are Trump supporters going to give up the NFL?
Let's move on.
All right, yeah.
Answer a question with a question to end all my questions. Let's get to college football roundup. One of the best things that I get to do here every week, because my college football teams don't seem to be losing right now. And people say, "Oh, D-Palm, you're being cocky. Oh, D-Palm, you're being on your high horse." Of course I am. I'm a Georgia fan that played football at Columbia. This all falls apart at some point. But while I'm here and while we're riding high, you're going to hate me. Because, Chad, I'm not going to lie to you, I was nervous going to Knoxville. And not because I thought Tennessee was a good football team, and not because I thought Georgia was going to melt down. Because you and I have been friends for a long time, trips to Neyland, emphasis on the Neyland, have gone very poorly for Georgia in recent years. There was the knee apocalypse 3 years ago. Were you as concerned as I was going into this game? I saw some of your flippant tweets, so I don't think so.
So I was less concerned than our mutual friend Andrew Hall, who for the second week in a row texted me the game was over after the first play from scrimmage. No, I'm always concerned about ACLs in Knoxville, as you casually alluded to, but we got there with no knee injuries that we know of, and might have shut them out and might have ended Butch Jones's career finally.
We definitely shut them out, and we definitely ended Butch Jones's career in at least Knoxville. A stat I saw yesterday: this is the first time they've been shut out since I think it was 2004 or 1994, excuse me. And this is the biggest loss for Tennessee at home since 1905 when they lost to Vanderbilt 45-0.
That's amazing. Put that in a trash can.
You look at the game, I know that you had some connectivity issues in the back end, but it was really
we'll call
over
them
at the half.
Connectivity issues, yeah.
I'm cleaning up for the pod, baby. The back, the game, it was in as close as 41-0 would show. Jake Fromm, look, I don't know where you stand on Fromm. I'm not in love with the kid. I think he's been a great game manager. But if you've got that defense and this running game, that might be what you need. His stat line finishes 7-15. Yeah, 7-15 for 84 yards, a touchdown and a pick. He also ran in 2 touchdowns, picked up a great third down in the second quarter.
Yes, sir.
He had a great day. Nick Chubb had 16 carries for 109. Terry Godwin caught 2 for 43, which is, if you'll note, most of Fromm's yardage. Chad, before we get too deep into celebrating this game, do you think that we're going to stick with Fromm if Eason gets back to a place we can play?
Georgia fans, you got what you wanted. You have an Alabama program now. And what I mean by that,
I didn't want to say it.
What I mean by that is that you have a game manager at quarterback. Eason gives them the upside that I don't think Fromm does, and I hope Eason does not get Wally pipped in this situation. But Fromm has kind of gone on the road, beat Notre Dame, beat Tennessee, and then helped with that complete annihilation of Mississippi State as well. It's a sticky situation, but I hope they get back to Eason.
Me too. Like you said, I think the upside's there with Jacob Eason. I think that I'll be really disappointed to watch him win a national title in Miami in 3 years if we don't play him.
That's the best tweet of this football season for me, by the way.
Everyone was like, how funny. I'm like, good one. That's how this ends.
Oh, no, Jacob Eason wins the 2020 national championship against Georgia.
In the Orange Bowl with Coach Rick putting on Coach Rick on their shoulders, carry him out of the OB.
Yeah, I've made jokes about this on another podcast, but there are a lot of Georgia fans that would have to wear orange and green to that game just based on how they feel about Coach Rick. So enjoy.
And you're talking to one of them probably. It's interesting to see because you're right. We've turned into Alabama East because this is what they said they wanted. They said they wanted a dominant running game and a game manager at quarterback. But man, I'm gonna miss those days of David Green and even DJ. I'll miss the days of watching Matt Stafford air it out and Aaron Murray and Jacob Eason last year. Like it's something to be said. But when you got a front seven that's playing the way this defense is, I legitimately think you and I could probably pick up the wins here. This is getting kind of scary. Having a lot of touchdown in 2 straight games, SEC play, mind you. And they look like they've got no signs of letting up.
They're beating the
I would
SEC
like to formally
82
announce
to
my
3.
intentions to adopt all 11 members of this defense and take them as my sons because they're all going to the NFL and make me very rich man. Chad, is this the best defense we've seen? I don't want to say it's got to be in the last 15 years. It feels like that. It feels like those first Rick teams had better Ds, but like this is it. This is a suffocating unit that will hurt you, and that will hit you, and that will keep hitting you. There's no late game let-ups. There's no drop-off with the seconds. Everyone knows what they're supposed to be. Everyone finishes to the ball. There's no yards after catch. They create turnovers. They harass the quarterback. And those linebackers are the best in the country.
They compress the field so well. I've seen it with Alabama with some of their best defenses like 2012, 2015. Mm-hmm. But they compress the field so quickly. And Lorenzo Carter is a cheat code. Davin Bellamy is basically a Lorenzo Carter, sub. Yeah, I mean, he's.
I don't know where they got. I'm like, where the hell did you get two of them from?
They're and the best part about it is this was not the case under Rick. They're so mean now.
They're mean. It feels like they've got that edge.
Yeah. And even the DBs who are predominantly like 3-star recruits for whatever that's worth. I mean, everybody's just mean, and they have the attitude of "this is my ball," and
that's exactly what it is.
And they take the damn ball all the time.
It's a defense that was only on the field for 25 minutes yesterday. They got 4 turnovers, grabbed 2 picks, picked up 2 fumbles. They allowed 62 yards rushing on 29 attempts, which is 2.1 a carry, and they allowed 80 passing yards on 23 passes.
Is that good?
3.5 an attempt.
Is that good?
That's terrifying. They only allowed 142 yards at Neyland.
It's absurd. And after the way they systematically just ruined Nick Fitzgerald's career last year, I mean, I'm all in. I don't think they'll beat Alabama, but I think they'll go 12. They have to go 12-0, right? Like, we can't possibly fuck this up.
So hold on. Stop. Okay, first of all, you and I have been Georgia fans for a very long time. And the fact that you don't recognize that this team's going to lose by 3 touchdowns to Florida is absurd.
We discussed this in pre, and I wanted to set you up.
I'm sick. and it's sad because you get people who are like, "Oh, D. Palmer, you're a Georgia fan. You must be so happy." Welcome to my life. Welcome to reality. There's no happy. There's no relaxation. There's just anxiety because the only thing that can happen next is bad.
There's a trip to Vanderbilt next. That's not fun.
No.
Those are things you shouldn't have to say if you're supporting a top 5 football program, but there's a trip to Vanderbilt, and that's not going to be fun.
No kidding. Our receivers coach in college was a linebacker for Vanderbilt. I don't know if you remember this, but Vanderbilt beat Georgia, I think it was in 97, at home on homecoming. And he was the middle linebacker for that game and was the Commodore's player of the game. And every time Georgia played Vandy for 4 years in college, he would say, "Hey, Palmer, how you feeling?" I would just have to look at him and hate him quietly. Let's talk about the rest of the SEC. God, now I'm in a bad place again. Hey, go Dogs. Screw that. I told you guys earlier, I cheer when I can. Right now I can. Go Dogs. Dogs on top. Alabama, look, that was uncalled for. 66 points was uncalled for. That's all I'm going to say about it. I don't know what Ole Miss did to you. That was me.
Well, I know what Ole Miss did to them.
Auburn beat up Mississippi State 49-10. We'll talk about the next game in a second, and that one too. Arkansas rolled, not much, over New Mexico State 24-42. Kentucky held on to beat EMU 24-20. And A&M, good on them, man. That was a hell of a fourth quarter, hell of a comeback. Way to send the message that you want to play for your coach. South Carolina, I got worried. I'm worried about you guys. Jake Bentley, you guys keep telling me how good he is. No points in the fourth.
He ain't that good.
And, only scored in 17. Not that great. Let's talk about 2 of the bigger games of the weekend. This Vandy, Florida thing, man, look. I think we both know Florida's not good at football, but losing their quarterback again, they're just going to get desperate, like backed into a corner like a rabid animal.
That's pretty much how Florida basically will punt you to death, and then when you're least expecting them to run an offensive play, they will score. And that has worked, and it is terrifying, and they are going to beat Georgia 24-17 in the ugliest game humanly imaginable, and I'm already looking forward to it a month from now.
Speaking of ugly games, Troy beat LSU. So, just for those of you keeping track at home, we gave Mississippi State tons of props for destroying LSU, for beating the hell out of LSU. But then Georgia beat Mississippi State, and then Auburn beat Mississippi State, and then Troy beat LSU. So now we're saying, wait, that first game where Mississippi State beat LSU was effectively meaningless, correct?
This is where the sports writers in the other receiving votes column still have Mississippi State receiving votes for no goddamn good reason.
They were the number 24 team in the nation before they got beat by Auburn.
Yeah. Should Coach O lose his job this year?
Coach O shouldn't have his job.
Well, yeah, but he has it, so.
I think it's a pretty substantial buyout, which is
good on him for getting
LSU,
a good buyout in 1 year.
He's got it's $12 million. And that's the craziest shit. Like, first of all, whoever his agent is, I need to shake that man's hand. But secondly, like, if you're LSU, he wants this job. It's his dream job. Why are you setting the buyout so high?
You could have a buyout of 0 and he would have been in.
Why is he dictating terms at all? His name is Ed Orgeron.
I mean, you heard the story of how he got hired. He drove to Baton Rouge and the AD just hugged him. At that point, you don't have to pay him. You're in.
Yeah.
You're done.
We're going to keep you at the same pay rate. Nothing's going to change. We're just going to call you the head coach. You're going to be the acting head coach for 1 season.
Yeah, man. And I guess I like the guy, or I like the guy. I mean, just a low country kind of idiot, but good God, man, you cannot lose to Troy.
You just can't. Like, my question now is, Coach O make it out of the year? Like, I think after paying out for less miles, I think that maybe they're not excited about it, but they'll definitely pay to get rid of Coach O, because their expectations say much more than this.
Yeah, if there's an athletic department that can afford to do it, LSU's on that short list. But who would they go after? I would say Neil Brown, the coach that just beat Coach O, would be like on that list.
But that's a lateral. After this, you've got to pop the fan base.
I don't know how you do that.
I didn't say you could do it. I just said you got to.
True.
Before we get into the rest of college football and open up to the rest of the league, the teams in the nation, I want to give a special shout out to Bryce Love. Oh my God. Oh my God.
So you're saying the Panthers spent the number 8 overall pick in the draft on Christian McCaffrey, and he was the second best running back on his college team?
Look, okay, if people think we're being exaggeratory,
is that a word?
Point, in the first 5 games of his record-setting season, Barry Sanders did not have this many yards, and he had more carries. Right now, Bryce Love's sitting on 98 carries for 1,088 yards through 5 games. He's averaging 11.1 a carry.
In Stanford's offense.
In Stanford. And that's the thing is, Stanford is the platonic ideal of college football. I told someone yesterday. I said, they literally have a running game you could not believe to see to believe. They have high academic standards, and no one comes to their games. It's perfect. It's the NCAA's dream, and all these kids get the same broke. It's perfect. This Bryce Love thing is insane to me. Like, I want to watch Stanford football, not because they're a top 25 team, not because I have to force them into the show, but because I want to see what Bryce Love can do next. And if he doesn't win, if he can keep this up, that's an easy Heisman, right? That's a layup Heisman, right? As
easy as it could possibly be. Their issue is that they've already lost 2 games, and you've got to go with a quarterback that makes the playoff to win the Heisman.
That used to be the rules. 98 for 1,088. If he keeps up that pace, he better get some hardware. He better leave New York with some hardware. This is ridiculous.
We're in a world where Mark Ingram won the Heisman over Ndamukong Suh, so prove me wrong. Prove me wrong, Heisman voters.
And now I feel ill. Let's go to the top 25 scoreboard. USC, number 5 team in the nation, knocked off as the Pac-12 Go After Dark occurs on Friday, 30-27. The Pirate strikes again. Chad, you know what this means to me? Oh, God, Georgia's going up in the rankings. I'm nervous.
Yep. With every bump in the rankings comes more depressing of a fall. Yep.
Miami on Friday night also put it on Duke, 31-6.
Good on them.
We covered all the SEC games. Clemson beat up Virginia Tech in a game that I didn't think would be closer, but I hoped would be closer. What did you take away from that being in the ACC game?
I was surprised that Clemson jumped on them the way they did. And then, I mean, obviously, they can keep them at arm's length after they get a lead. But I was honestly surprised that after Clemson's performance the week before against Boston College that they had the offense to put them at arm's length. I mean, it's 17-0 in a snap.
In a blink of an eye, you're right. Penn State beat up on Indiana 45-14.
Sure.
Washington beat up Right? Washington beat Oregon State 42-7. Northwestern looked game for a while there. They put up a fight, but they ended up falling to Wisconsin 24-33. Ohio State beat Rutgers in a game that shouldn't occur. Hey, Ohio State, how's life outside the top 10? Oh, it's so good to see that little 11 next to their name. Oklahoma State, who people told me might be the best team in the Big 12, barely squeaked by a unimpressive Texas Tech team. 41-34. Louisville tries to right the ship as Lamar Jackson reignites his Heisman push. 55-10.
Athletic director Bobby Petrino, shout out.
Yo, no one's watching Bobby Petrino. Like, that's the thing I took away from this week as a college football fan. Everyone who's above Bobby Petrino is either fired or about to be fired. And oh my God, I'm pretty sure he interviewed for the LSU job last week.
Yeah, actually that answers our previous question.
Yo, Bobby Petrino ends up at LSU only to leave in year 2 right before the Bama game. I'll be like, I told you so. Anyway, South Florida continues to prove Charlie Strong's destiny to succeed in life, beating up on Eastern Carolina 61-31. Note that we're not going to mention Texas this week because they're not a top 25 team. Good move, Charlie. San Diego State beat Northern Illinois 28-34. You know, Northern Illinois is one of those squads that, like, it feels like a Gonzaga in basketball. Every year I'm like, Northern Illinois. And then I'm, like, impressed for a week or two, then I stop watching them again. And then the next year it's, Northern Illinois. The same thing.
I always want to tune into one of their games, and then I'm like, they're kind of like Georgia Tech, except a little bit more diverse on offense. This isn't fun.
Which isn't hard to be. And a team that continued Georgia's streak, just like the 1AA team of private schools that get embarrassed by Georgia. Notre Dame beat Miami of Ohio 52-17. Do you feel better about the Notre Dame win now?
I don't really know how you can't. I mean, they're 4-1. I'm going to see them in person next week, but they've pasted everybody not named Georgia on their schedule.
Yeah, man, and you look at what they did against that defense and what we know the defense is, and of course it was still shaping up at that point, but maybe Notre Dame's better than I gave him credit for. Man, and not just me trying to boost Georgia's feelings.
No, and we know what we know about Georgia's defense. We discussed that, but Brandon Wimbush is good, very good, and
yeah, they got some football players over there, man.
Yeah, but Georgia put him down. I'm looking forward to seeing Brandon Wimbush have a nice little dark horse Heisman campaign next week in Chapel Hill. God damn it, I'm not looking forward to that. I'm not looking forward to that.
I'm really excited for hopefully Georgia to take care of this Vanderbilt thing early and not make me nervous all day next week. Chad, man, thank you for coming on. Please tell everyone where they can find you and all your.
I am Chad_Floyd on the Twitters. I talk mostly incoherent nonsense, and at TarHeelBlog.com I will post about 2 random incoherent nonsense posts about UNC football, which is rambling incoherent nonsense at this point.
It's important to stay on brand. Chad, thank you very much for coming on, man. We really do appreciate it. All right, guys, this has been Unanimous Decision Podcast. I'm your host, D-Palm. Follow me on Twitter at DPalm66. Follow the show on Twitter at UDPod. Follow the entire network on Twitter at the MTR Network. Make sure you subscribe in the iTunes Store. Subscribe everywhere you get your iTunes. You get your podcast absolutely free. Leave the 5-star review on iTunes. Get your words read on the air. Email us at udpodcast@gmail.com. Make sure you use our Amazon affiliate links. Go visit the MTR store to get all your nice MTR swag. Blame Chris. Blame D-Palm shirts are coming back for the fall. Make sure you subscribe to the individual feeds on our network, and make sure you use the money that you have to go ahead and give to the Patreon so we can give you more and more great content. I know the boys are headed to New York Comic Con next week, and I'll be in San Diego next year as we put our press applications in last week. All the crazy fun things are lining up right now for us. It's going to be a great year to be a member of the MTR Network. Make sure you subscribe everywhere you can. That was your show. This is your outro. See you guys next week.